No, you're live as it is.
Yes, thank you. Bum, 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 bum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum 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 ba-ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum da-da-da-da-da-da-da da-da-da ba-dum ba-da-dum ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da bum ba-da-dum ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da dun 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 dun. Hello, my friends. Hello, mighties. Hello, Facebook Live friends. Isn't it great to see you all? Good evening, Jamie from CR. What's CR? I don't know what CR is. What's the abbreviation? Is there a state with CR? I don't know what that is. Hi, Lori. Hi from Russia, New York. Yeah, New York's got some strange city names, doesn't it? Rome and I'm trying to think of some other ones. We've got a lot of strange city names or town names in New York State. Hi, Sheila from Michigan. Hello from everyone from Topeka, says Deborah. Hello. Wonderful to see you all. Costa Rica. Hi, Francine. Costa Rica. Oh, CR is Costa Rica? Maybe. Maybe it is. CR, Costa Rica. Yes, Costa Rica, you lovely island. No, that's Puerto Rico. Cedar Rapids, Iowa. How nice to see everyone. Hello, friends. Lisa from Saratoga Springs, New York. Okay, my friends, shall we begin? My name is Joette Calabrese, and we meet every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Rain or shine. Sometimes we don't quite make it. The internet screws up, or I mess up on our end from our technology, my technology inability or technical inability. But every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern time, we are here to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to learn homeopathy. I like to teach you. I like to get your feedback. I like to tell you something new that maybe you hadn't thought of before with homeopathy, some things old, and some little bit of my philosophy here and there, which we can't help but give and share in this format. And so for those of you who know me, hi, everyone. It's great to see my friends here. Hello from Pittsburgh. Hello from Humble, Texas. Yep. Hi, everyone. Hi. Oh, it's great to see all my old friends from long ago, clients that I've never actually met personally, only met on Zoom, that I've been working with for years. That's Paula. I saw Paula in here just a little while ago. I've been working with Paula. I think she's in Wisconsin. I've never actually put my arms around her and given her a hug, but we meet every 6 months, don't we, Paula? It's fun. It's really great. All right, so we're talking about infections. Don't worry about infections. Especially, let me put it to you this way. I'm not going to say who they are, you know. If they tell you to worry, it's usually nothing to worry about. Think about Zika. Think about swine flu. Think about all of those events that they swore were going to wipe us all out, and they had to scramble to come up with a vaccine. But even if they didn't come up with a vaccine, it was the public health policy that really saved us, right? So don't be afraid. Homeopathy has a reputation for treating successfully. Not in every case, of course, nothing is 100%, but in so many cases over the last 220 years that it has stood the test of time. Homeopathy has, and on every level. So whatever they say, oh my gosh, it's strep B. Oh my gosh, it's Herpes. Oh my, relax. You know what to do. If you don't, start studying. And how do you study? Join a study group. One of our study groups, Gateway to Homeopathy. If you don't know how to do that, by all means, go get to my website and figure out, just call my office. We've got Eileen answering the phone. She's fabulous, very helpful, and she'll help you find a group or tell you how to start a group. It's online, or you can do it in your home or in your church or in your school, etc., etc. Know how to use these medicines. And every Monday night, as I said, I've been doing this for years. I've never missed a Monday night. Well, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't because I wasn't going to be there. I wouldn't be there. There were technical problems. I think 3 times we had technical problems and we couldn't get through. Once we were in Florida and there was some real weather that was coming in. But at any rate, I want you to know this stuff. So tonight we're going to talk about infections again, and I was going to talk about more sobering, serious, like skin or bone or sepsis and that kind of thing. And we will get back to that again. But I want to go back to colds and flus because there are many ways to approach a cold or a flu. And we don't know whether or not it's a cold or a flu at the onset, right? You don't know what it is. All you know is that you're not feeling well. Feel achy, fatigued, right? Feel that, I feel something, maybe in here, maybe in the throat, maybe in the sinuses or in the ears or the eyes. But the usual areas where colds and flus often are where the seat of them reside. So I'm going to give you a remedy that I have used in the past and I'm started to use again. Now, first we're going to start with what I always use for colds and flus at the onset, and you all know it. If you've been here, if you haven't, it's okay. I'm going to tell you now. And that is aconitum 200 mixed with Bryonia 30. Now, you can buy this from OHM Pharma if you happen to be a student or a client of mine, but if you're not, no problem. You buy you buy aconitum 200 and you buy Bryonia 30 and you put the 4 or 5 pills of aconitum in the mouth and don't chew them. Make sure your mouth is clean, meaning you don't have a sandwich remaining in there. And then you close that bottle, put the Bryonia in your mouth, and you put that, and they're mixed together in your mouth simultaneously. Aconitum, Bryonia. I keep that in my purse at this time of year. Generally, I only keep aconitum, but sometimes I'll keep the Bryonia, aconitum mixed with Bryonia together in my purse because if I'm out and I start feeling as though I'm catching something, that's my general protocol. That is a Banerjee protocol, by the way. Excuse me for taking a sip of water. Okay. Now, Bryonia. If you happen to be one of my mighties, you know about Bryonia because I've spent a lot of time reading about it when I've been reading a book to you folks by James Compton Burnett. And it's a fabulous book. And so I read a chapter every couple of weeks or so. And he talks about Bryonia and how amazing it is for respiratory mucosal areas, so such as in the respiratory system. So the lungs, the throat, the sinuses, not as much sinuses, but lungs and throat, sometimes in the ears and in the sinuses as well, but definitely in this mucosal area. So Bryonia is excellent, and I love it in a 30. Now we're going to alternate that with another medicine that I have not used in a while, and I've started, as I just said, I've started using again, and that is Rhus tax or Rusicodendron, and it is Rhus Rhus Toxicodendron, TOX. See if I can spell it. TOXICODEN. DRON or Rhus tax. Rhus tax, 2 words. Rhus tax. And I like to use it in a 30. And how do I use Rhus tax? I wait until the aconite and Bryonia are no longer helping. If you don't see enough of a shift, taking them every hour, something like that, depending on how severe you're feeling, how sick you're feeling, If you take it every hour and it's not helping, you're on dose 6, time to put it aside and instead replace it with Rus Tox 30 and alternate it with Bryonia 30. Now, what do I mean by alternate? I like to use it this way. Rus Tox 30, 5 minutes later, Bryonia 30. An hour or 2 or 3 hours later. Why am I not giving you exact times? Because I don't know how sick you are. If you're very sick, we use it more frequently. Tighten it up. If you're not so sick, then you open it up to every 3 hours. If you're even less sick than that, you go every 6 hours. But every time you take one, you're going to take the other as well about 5 minutes later. That's the way I've done it. Now, there's another way to do it. We can also do Rus Tox at 9 and Bryonia at noon, and Rus Tox at 3 and Bryonia at 6. I find that not to be quite as efficacious as when I say both of them within about half an hour, 30 minutes of each other, something like that. All right. Yes, yes, yes. Hi, Kay. Hi, Leanne. It's wonderful to see everyone. It's really great. Not familiar with no-sod, but will research. Okay, so people are talking amongst themselves, which is really great. Antimonium crude 6. If I feel like I'm getting a cold sore, yes, it could be great for a cold sore. But let me also tell you, Rus Tox is amazing for cold sores. So if what I'm describing to you feel as though you're coming down with something, you don't know whether or not it's a flu, you don't know which viral strain it is, you just know you're not feeling well. You might feel achy. You might feel weak. Let me see what it says here. Influenza with much aching. You might have sore throat or laryngitis or pharyngitis. Rus Tox, very good remedy to choose. It's great for pneumonia, for coughing, and other issues related to pneumonia and bronchitis. Also, a lot of times when people get coughing, they can get a reaction that causes their joints or the sinuous tendons, etc., in their back, in their shoulders, etc., and it aches from coughing so hard. That is also Rus Tox. So the fact that we would be using Rus Tox for the cold or flu or virus or whatever it might be, alternating with Bryonia, we're going to be using something that could also help with if the coughing is too grand. Now, here's something that I find that causes the most problems in using these medicines. The biggest problem that I see is that people expect the medicine to go like this. Take the remedy, bam, done. It's not always like that. It can be. So if you've had that experience, you're hoping for it again, right? But if you give it some time, give it at least 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours of the same remedy. And then I want you to look for something. If I want you to look for other areas that are improving. So the pharyngitis might not be any better, but you know what? The cold sore is a little less painful, or it doesn't look like it's progressing the way I thought it was going to progress, the way it usually does. Okay, so someone just said, where do you order these remedies? You go to Boiron, 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 Boiron. And when you cash out at the end, in the little code place, in the little box, put my name, Joette, Joette, and you'll get a discount. No, I do not get a kickback. No, that's not the way I work. I give you the discount. You will get the discount. I get no credit. All that happens is that you get a discount. Boiron. So someone said, I can't take Rus Tox. It causes my joints to ache. So what would you do? What would you do? Let's see what everybody else would do. Yeah, the BAM experiences spoil us. They do. Yes, Dolly, they do. All right, let's see, colds and flu. Another thing that I love is Cold Calm. One word, Cold Calm by Boiron as well. And so let's hear what everyone says. Instead of Roostox, you're sick. You're getting sick. You feel like something's coming on. You've taken aconitum bryonia. And now it's time perhaps to go to Roostox, but you can't take Roostox. Although I have to say, just because you couldn't take Roostox last time doesn't mean you can't take it this time. These remedies, these medicines are not like conventional medicine. When you take penicillin and you get hives and your throat closes up, you are told to never take penicillin again, right? Right. But that's not so with homeopathy because it depends on the circumstances. Perhaps you took Roostox before and it made your joints worse. Perhaps this time, however, it will not. It's a whole new situation. So it's not that you are sensitive to a particular medicine. It was used incorrectly last time. That's all it means. But let's say you really, truly cannot take Roostox. You just took it the other day and it made you feel worse. Then by all means, what's everyone else saying? I love it. I love what everybody's saying. Tammy says gelsemium. Yeah, that's what I would do. You could take gelsemium. You could take eupatorium. You could take oscillococcinum. You could take colcom, but you could also just take plain old bryonia. Yes, you could take any of those. And how do you know what to take? Well, if you're reading my blog or you're taking my course called Antibiotic Alternative, you will have a lot of answers. Yep. Belladonna flu, gelsemium flu, Roos flu, says Leanne. Excuse me. So I also will tell you that when you use, for the person who couldn't, I didn't get your name, I'm sorry. For the person who says, I can't use Roostox, perhaps it was because it was a Roostox 200. Perhaps it was a Roostox 1M that you were using. Potency matters. I'm telling you, I'm suggesting that Roostox 30 be used, not 200. Right? Potency matters. Frequency matters. Each remedy matters. This is a very tight medicine, very specific. That's why it's so efficacious, because if you get it right, it is like magic. Okay, when do you stop taking the aconitum? When it stops working or when you feel better, right? When you feel like you've moved along and you're much better, then you can stop the aconitum. Or if you feel as though it's worked and now it's stopped working, now you move on. Or if you took it and there was no change at all, you abandon it. Think of this as medicine. If you have menstrual cramps and you used to take Midol for them, and the menstrual cramps are made better by taking the Midol, do you keep taking it anyway, even though you're better from it? No, you got better. You stop. But if 2 days later the menstrual cramps come back again, what do? You go back to that Midol. Absolutely. But let's say, you had menstrual cramps on Monday, you took Midol, the cramps are gone. On Tuesday, the cramps are still gone. You're not still taking Midol, I would assume, right? Because you don't need it. You only take it when you need it. When the pain comes back, so does the medicine come back. You're not going to take Midol 10 days later because you don't need it then, right? You stop when it's done, you repeat when you need it, and if it's not working, you move on. Midol didn't work. I don't understand it. This time it didn't work. Most people who are still stuck in the conventional medical conveyor belt will then go to, I don't know, Tylenol, aspirin, steroids, antibiotics, chemotherapy, IVs, who knows? Oh, here's someone who says, I've been coughing for 2 weeks and tried bryonia, Roostox, Self. But this is not for cough. This is for a cold and the sensation in the throat and the chest. You got to know your medicines, my friend. You just have to know them. You have to look them up and know them. Look on my blog under cough. Okay, cough, I think is the name of the blog. and it will tell you precisely the medicine for when someone has a certain kind of cough. If it's a maddening cough, it's one medicine. If it's a deep cough that is sobering, and it indicates that it's dry and hacking and almost sounds dangerous and barking, then it's a different medicine. Okay, that's the way I want you to look at it. Let us see what else everyone else is saying. Yes, potency is queen, symptoms are king. Leanne, so well put. Potency is queen, symptoms are king. Just for you, Harry. All right. So many cool people here, so smart. Boy, you've got it right. It is so true. We have a collection of friends here, haven't we, that are unique. And so the new people coming in, come on in. These people that are around us are really the shakers and the movers in homeopathy. My thoughts about the FDA, it's not good. They're not saying that they're going to take everything away. They're not saying that. They would never say that. But they're there to do one thing and one thing only. Our FDA, they're there to protect us. And in doing so, you have to think about the way that they might think of how they plan to protect us. What is it they're protecting us from? Big bad homeopathy. Are they protecting us from calcium phosphoricum? Not likely. Are they protecting us from chamomilla? Not likely, because they don't think that's dangerous. What do they think is dangerous? Well, one thing we hear about all the time is when doctors, surgeons, some surgeons use arnica on a regular basis, especially plastic surgeons. They use it before surgery and shortly after, and then give the patient a packet and tell them to use this every few hours. And it's arnica montana. But other doctors don't know what arnica montana is, and they look it up and they don't understand what homeopathy is, and they don't realize that when you put the potency, the number after the remedy, it has a whole different meaning. And they think that arnica will cause bleeding. And arnica in its gross form can cause bleeding, but not in its potentized form, not when it's made homeopathically. So, what it tells us is what we've always known for a very long time. What the FDA is planning to do is, we hope, not what we think they're going to do. It's kind of vague, isn't it? But what I'm going to tell you is, skill up, my friends. Own the remedies. Buy as many as you can. Own them now. Make sure you have 30s and 200s, and some 6s and 3s and some 1Ms, but mostly 30s and 200s. It's very important that you have this medicine. The danger to them is that we're free and independent. And the more we stand on that firm ground, the more protected we are as a group. Yes, they protect big pharma, not consumers. It's been like that for decades. Absolute decades. In a way, this is the way I see this. In a way, it's a good thing. All of this whole past 2 years, 3 years almost, it's almost been a good thing. It's been a good thing because it has broken people out of their spells, gotten people to think differently, opened up their minds to think differently. It was played so hard and heavy that that people started to catch on. You see, it's been quiet around. They've been skirting around the edges with their plans, with their methods, with their products, to teach you to use this product, these kinds of products, instead of these kinds of products. That's really what it's all about. And so enough people say, what? Another one? Again? The jig will be up, and it's happening. People are questioning. Would one pellet work as a dose in light of potential ability to not get the remedies? If you could not get remedies, you could try it. In certain circumstances, it can work. That's certainly a possibility. Dealing with frontal sinus pressure pain. There's a very good one for that, my friends. Who knows the remedy that's for sinus pressure pain? Particularly when there's an infection, but even if there isn't, it doesn't have to be an infection. It could certainly be something that is chronic. Doesn't have to have anything to do with infection. It could have to do with sleep apnea and snoring even. Thank you, Pat. Sanguinaria. Tara, sanguinaria. Mary, sanguinaria. Rochelle, sanguinaria. Chalaebicromia is a possibility. Sinus pressure, but chalaebicromium is a little more specific even than sanguinaris. Chalaebicromium is usually pain between the eyes, or starting on the above the left eye and then moving over both. The mucus is plasticine. More in general, that's more specific. Sanguinaria is more general. Has a more generalized picture. Sanguinaria, says Kathy. You bet, Dolly. Yep, sanguinaria. Yep, monkeypox and the like, says Leanne. They are just balloons they are putting up to see if they float. Yep, it's a test. They've been tests for a long time. Sanguinaria plus belladonna. Thank you, Pamela. Yes, sanguinaria 200 plus belladonna 3 is specifically when there is pain. The belladonna is great for pain. Sanguinaria is for the sinus infection in general. Sanguinaria helped me last week, says Lori. Sanguinaria 200 is the potency that we like. You bet. You guys have got it. It's so good. Yep, trial balloons. I agree. They are trial balloons. They're waiting to see how quickly we react. How frightened is the populace? How extreme can this go? It is something that, if I'm wrong, if those of us who agree on this together are wrong, hallelujah. But if we're right, nothing lost. Skill up. Know your medicines. Join study groups. If you've already joined a study group, buy with your group and buy the courses. I've got fabulous courses online. I'm sorry, I hate to say that I about my own courses, but I know no one else who's taught these kinds of courses. No one else has spent the kind of time that I have in India, pulling all of this together, working with the Banerjees. Nor does anyone put together the protocols. And they're not just Banerjee protocols. There are many kinds of protocols. But it's very important. Protocols are very important because it makes what's complex into something that's a snap. How do you find a study group? Simply contact my office. You can email or call in the morning after just around 10 o'clock. And Eileen will help you find a study group. Hard to find kits right now. I used to sell kits for years. It was wonderful. You know, we have a couple here and there that come in, but generally kits are hard to find these days. Well, I mean, look, you can find kits, but my preference is to find 100 in a box, not 20, because the top 100, top 300 are really the best way to go. Join Students of Joette Facebook. Yeah, that's a good way to do it too. There you go. People are answering for you. How do you find a study group? Yep, and we've got wonderful leaders who run these study groups. Different topic, but as of yesterday, I can whistle. I haven't whistled for years because of mandibular tori. Wasn't even trying to fix it, but I'm assuming when I was working on tooth decay and the cavitations, the tori corrected. Yep, you bet. That's how it works. That when I tell you when you take a medicine, look for other areas to improve. That's what I'm talking about. Areas that you hadn't even thought were connected. If you see other areas improving, you've got a lilt in your step, you have more energy, you're happier, the bowels have improved, skin looks, but whatever it might be just a little something. Skin tags start to go away. You know that the homeopathic medicine you're taking is working. Now, flip side of that is if you're losing energy, you're not sleeping, the bowels are a mess, you're getting skin tags, your menses is a mess, it's probably the drug you're taking. Isn't that interesting? It's the exact flip side. Yeah, and so what that means is that whatever we're told by authorities, it's usually the opposite. Often the opposite. Can we make that more definitive? Often the opposite. Whatever it is they're telling us, it's often the exact opposite, and we're usually safer if we think of it that way. Okay. Lymphedema, I think I covered that in my feminopathy course. I'm pretty sure I covered it there. All right, my friends, it is 8:31 Eastern time. I have to dash off because I am going to be teaching a study group right now, a gateway to study and gateway to homeopathy. And so in case you are interested, the way this works is that these groups meet together for 8 weeks. At the end of 8 weeks, if they choose, they can meet with me. I meet with them on Zoom and I answer the questions for 2 hours. It's really fun. And you could be doing that too. All right, my friends. God bless you all. We'll talk about infections again next week as well. Bye now.